Greetings, fellow insomniacs. It is your friend in fright, Chunky Larry, and welcome to the Sinister Creature Con Summer 2025. Is everybody doing okay tonight? Today? Everybody okay? Nobody overeating? We're good? Okay, good, because we're about to do something really, really cool. We are going to be talking about one of the greatest films ever made, that was made for TV back in the 90s. We are going to be talking about one of the coolest werewolf movies ever made. And I can't do that by myself. I mean, I could probably do it. But I'm going to be introducing somebody really special. Her hair is winter fire, January embers, and my heart is burning up because, ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Emily Perkins. You're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting here.
All right, no problem.
Is it on? No. Here, why don't you take this? They want to hear you.
You can probably figure out how to turn it on. Technology hates me.
Can you hear me?
All right. Yes.
All right. Okay, we're good. So, Emily.
Yes.
How did you get started in acting?
Well, I started in acting because there was like a traveling children's theater troupe that would tour schools in Vancouver in Canada where I live. And they performed a play called Sadoko and the 1,000 Cranes, and it was about a little girl in Hiroshima who was dying of radiation poisoning. And I was like, this is the most incredible story I've ever heard. Like, I want to be a storyteller and bring like important stories like this to the world's attention. So I was very idealistic when I started.
How old were
acting.
you when you started?
I was 10.
10.
Yeah, I was 10. And and so then very quickly, started auditioning for like Barbie commercials and stuff. Not quite what I had imagined, but
kind of a jump from Sudoku to Barbie,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. So between Canada and what's the transition for that? Like, how do you go from Barbie commercials to Dairy Maine?
It was actually filmed in Vancouver. So Vancouver's kind of known as Hollywood North, and there's a lot of industry that comes up from LA. And I just auditioned for it, and we have rules in Canada that if you're going to film here, you have to cast like a few Canadians.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky; I was one of the Canadians that got to be in it, and just kind of kept auditioning after that for other stuff. And
so, working on that film, because I'm going to be terribly honest, that is like for me, that was like my. So the entire weekend I've been like, oh my God, Beverly Marsh is here.
Oh, thank you.
But the cast, specifically the first half of the miniseries, is very much centered around the Losers Club as young children.
Yes.
And it's, Brandon and why am I blanking on his name? Probably because
Ben and Bill and
Jonathan Brandis.
Jonathan Brandis, yeah.
And Seth and this big group of kids that are preteen. What was that like? Because I'm assuming that you guys had to get to know each other, correct?
Yeah, so they did have us do quite a few things together. Like I think we went to Playland and we went to see like a movie together and just kind of hung out just so we could they were hoping that friendship would transfer to the screen. And it was being the only girl, it was a little bit challenging for me because they were all very much into Game Boy. That was a thing at the time. And they were all really good at Tetris. And I didn't really get what was so cool about Tetris. So, and they were all, and they were also very I don't want to say unprofessional, but they were just constantly joking around, and it was teenage boy humor.
Yeah, preteen boys.
Yeah, I mean, they were they weren't even preteen. I was one of the younger ones. And I think Adam was the same age as I was. And then I was 13. And then, like, Seth was 16. And Ben was 17. And the other kids were 14. So they were all a little bit older. And so most of their jokes were just, like, going way over my head. I had no idea what they were talking about. And I was just very much like trying to like be professional and like say my lines properly. And so the director would come over or the producer would come over and yell at all of them. But always be like, "It's okay, Emily, you're doing great, sweetie. I'm not yelling at you." And I'd be like, "Thank you. You guys suck." Yeah.
And so there's a relationship dynamic with your character and your father's character in that film, and I have to imagine that was something that was, for someone as young as you were, like, how was that handled?
I don't know. Well, Frank, the actor that played the dad character, was just like the nicest man. He was very kind. So, there wasn't any trouble that way. Like, I don't think it affected me psychologically or anything.
Okay.
Maybe like I think like the only thing that really kind of got to me subconsciously was like the bathroom stuff, because
sink.
it's not scary at the time because you have like 50 people standing around watching, and of course like the special effects were very rudimentary in 1990. So like when I'm leaning over the sink and the balloon fills up with blood coming out of the sink, that was just like a guy with a straw lying on his back like and it took so long for it to like actually work and actually burst. And so it's like it's very boring actually. And as a kid you learn like, oh, blood in movies is just corn syrup and red dye, and it's a little disappointing, but it's also kind of comforting. And so you're like, there's nothing to be scared of. But after a few months had passed and we had like wrapped and everything, I could not close the door of the bathroom when I was in the bathroom. Like, so I think it really did something got in there, a little worm got into my brain and did affect me in some way.
And being a child actor, balancing your education with doing auditions, going out for things, how hard is that for you, and how much do you tell your mom you're sorry?
How much should I tell my mom I'm sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Not
sorry. Yeah, sorry, the Canadian accent. Well, I mean, I was on a Canadian series for a little bit, and the kid who played my brother and I got very good at avoiding the on-set tutor. So as soon as we were very good at like predicting when we were going to be released, and it's like, okay, this is going to be a long break, we're going to have to go do homework. And so we would actually, like, people didn't even know we were doing this, but we would like find the ladder that went up to where like where they suspend the lights from like those wood beams across, and we would like go hide up on the ceiling of the studio, like way high up. And
play
then we just,
Game Boy.
Yeah, and then we just watch the tutor like going around and asking for where we were and just laugh. It was great. Those are good days.
So there's another film that I want to talk to you about, and I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Probably Ginger Snaps, I think.
That's the one. That's the one. So that film specifically is interesting because with it, you're talking, or your character performing is dealing with the dynamic of being surrounded by boys. And Ginger Snaps, on the inverse of that, is a very feminine-driven film.
Yes.
And your character specifically is kind of uncomfortable in her own skin. Would you say that that's fair?
For sure. Yeah.
And so it's to kind of show the duality of that transformation process.
Yeah.
So when you go out for that role, how excited are you for something that's that deep?
Well, at first I didn't quite know what to make of it. The original draft of the script that I saw almost played like kind of like soft porn. Like Brigitte and Ginger were like wearing skimpy pajamas, piercing each other's belly buttons, and I was like, what is this exactly? And yeah, so it's just like kind of the treatment of the story was a little bit in that direction, and then it kind of changed after But it was like, I just thought, wow, who is this character? Normally when I would audition for stuff back like in the 90s or early 2000s, it would always be like, we want you to be like this character from another show, for example. Like, please be like Darlene from Roseanne, or be like this girl. But for Brigitte and Ginger, there was no real reference. It was just like they wanted them to be very original characters. And so as an actor, that was like wonderful for me because I got to be super creative and just use my imagination and make her just like as weird as I wanted to. It was very cathartic for me too, because although I was very much like Brigitte, I was also a people pleaser as a young person. So I was very socially critical and kind of dark on the inside, but I would present as just like smiling and like, yes, like whatever I need to say to you to make you not pay attention to me and go away. That's like the kind of the way I present it. So it was cathartic for me to like actually get to perform like what I felt. I felt myself to be, or like it was truer to my identity, I guess, the character of Brigitte.
To me, one of the most interesting things about that film is the fact that it doesn't feel archetypical, where something like Heather's is obviously that. So is that something that when you're doing it, you guys are like taking a stand on certain things where they're like, well, we'd really like you guys to have a pillow fight, and you're like, no, I'm not having a pillow fight? Or is there anything like that where you were able to take ownership of that character?
Well, I think the writer Karen Walton kind of took that angle. Like, she was very much like, this is a feminist film, and I want this to be really true to what it's like to be a young woman feeling like you have to fit into a particular mold, and you're very much feeling this pressure from the male gaze, and you just want to like avoid growing up and kind of like build your own community with like a sister or best friend or whatever, but it never lasts, right? You always end up, your bubble is burst at some point, and you have to like enter society, which is not, you realize is not a place that you want to be.
Do you find comparisons between Ginger Snaps and Jennifer's Body at all?
I think like when Jennifer's Body came out, it was after Ginger Snaps, and a lot of people said that it was inspired by Ginger Snaps in some ways. That's what I heard, so I don't know. I think there are some similarities.
I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to let people in the crowd ask questions.
Yeah.
But for you as an actress, when somebody comes to you and says, Emily, we want you for this role, what are your requirements for a film that make you say, this is what I want to talk about? Is there something that's grabbed you like that?
I don't think I ever really reached like the level of success where I was like in charge of picking projects for myself. It was more kind of like I just wanted to like, when I was young, like when I was doing Ginger Snaps, I was just like in the process of adopting my cousin. So I was like, I just need money so I can raise these two children. And so I didn't really care. Although I think like subconsciously, if I didn't like something politically, or, you know, it just seemed really trite or whatever, I would find some way of like sabotaging it. Like one of my most recent jobs actually that happened to was like a Hallmark show, and it's just not me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not, I just felt like super critical of every element of that show. And then I just sort of start like messing up because a big part of me just doesn't like feel like I fit in there, I guess. And yeah, I think that a lot of us do that. Like in whatever job or whatever venue we find ourselves in life, if it's like, this is not me, I don't belong here, you just kind of, you find a way to like get out of that situation, whether it's intentional or not. Yeah.
All right, so we are going to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. Jimmy, the handsome gentleman with the glasses, is going to walk around with a microphone. If you want to ask Emily a question, feel free to by raising your hand. This gentleman right over there.
Did you have any favorite memories of being on set for it or working with Tim Curry?
Well, Tim's kind of a method actor, and I think he had agreed with the producers and the director that he wasn't going to get to know the kids very well because he wanted to like maintain that distance so that, you know, we hopefully we would be intimidated by him and that would show on screen versus feeling like he was someone we could just go chat to. So he just kind of sat in his cast chair, chain smoking, and he would kind of show his teeth just like as we walked past. So we found him a little bit scary. We were all kind of in awe of him too, because we all knew that he was a big star. And I only knew him from Annie, which he was wonderful in, because like even in a kids movie, he's still wonderful, eccentric, crazy Tim Curry. Like he's just one of a kind. Yeah.
Anybody else? Right up here, Jimmy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can just talk.
One of the things I liked about Ginger Snaps is the werewolf is a practical effect. Do you have any stories or memories of what it was like working with the puppet when it's coming after you?
When it was like on top of me, it was kind of heavy. It's like really, yeah, I mean, it's like this big rubber thing, right? At one point it was like it was like a costume, and like a guy was actually, an operator was actually in it. And then at another point it was just like a puppet, basically. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I've never really done anything where I had to work with CGI and just like pretend something was there. But I think it's easier to have, as an actor, to like have something physically present with you. And personally, like I love old-fashioned special effects. Like not so much into the CGI. I think a lot of people feel that way too. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Like, wow, this guy, like I got to meet the guy who like, he was like, yeah, I made this. This is my creation. It's like, you know, it's an art form. Yeah, versus like a science. I think of like the program. I mean, I guess it's like art too. The graphic design, graphic arts and stuff is also an art. I don't mean to
I'm with her,
scoff,
and I
but-
don't call it practical effects. I call it special makeup effects because it's special, not practical. Sorry. Next person.
special.
Right over there.
What was Tommy Lee Wallace like to work with?
He was really nice to me. He was mad at the boys a lot of times because they were like Seth Green was truly funny. Like he was a born comedian. And like I remember this one time, like when we were standing around in the Barrens, and a police officer comes and like warns us that a little girl that we know has been killed and we better be careful. And he's like, what are you kids doing? And Seth just kept saying, we're masturbating. Like standing behind the camera, like we're off camera, and this poor actor is trying to like deliver his lines, and like every time it would just like completely throw him off, and like we couldn't get the scene done because Seth, like that was like he just had this endless stream of inappropriate jokes, and I was like, God, shut up! Like I just thought he was ridiculous. I mean, now I think it's pretty funny, but so yeah, poor Tommy Lee was like, can you guys just like keep it together? We are on a budget. All these people you see around you are getting paid a lot of money to be here by the hour. So can you please shut up? That would be frustrating. But he was very, very kind man. Yeah.
What was the most difficult role that you took on? Why was it difficult?
Probably Brigitte in Ginger Snaps, because it was like low budget and very long hours, so it was just physically grueling. And in the second one, I had to do like the full werewolf makeup, which took about 5 hours to put on in the morning, and a couple hours to like get it all off properly without like hurting your skin with the glue and stuff. So. That was just, yeah, it was difficult, at the same time super rewarding. It was neat to be able to walk past a mirror and be like, oh my God, who is that person? Like it just felt like the ultimate acting experience, really becoming someone else, but not only someone else, but someone not even human. Yeah, it was just, it was a lot of fun, but very difficult.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Are there any funny behind-the-scenes mishaps? Like
Well, I'm super clumsy, unfortunately. So there have been like a few things that I have screwed up. Well, like on It, I had to shoot the slingshot. And of course, like it was actually quite like, I don't know why they couldn't find like a looser material, but it was very tense, and like I didn't quite have the strength to have good aim, and all the boys were like, just give it to us, like we can do it, why is she doing it? And then of course, like instead of like proving them all wrong, like I knew I would, no, I shot the like earring thing right into the lens of the camera, and it's like ricochets around the mouth box, and everyone's like, oh, that was embarrassing. And then another time, like on the second Ginger Snaps, I had to like punch out a window, and they only had one actual prop window. And so they're like, okay, we're just gonna practice, and we don't actually break the window. And of course, I actually like punched the window and destroyed the prop. Sorry,
Did you
guys.
feel super powerful when you did it?
Yeah, I did. It was actually really fun. It was worth it. And then another time, I had like a retractable knife, and I had to stab another actor, and he had like, it was like a really stiff retractable knife, so it was like very realistic, and it actually would hurt so he had like a pad on so that I wouldn't hurt him. But of course I missed the pad entirely and like stabbed his throat, and he was like, he could like barely say his lines for the rest of the day. Ooh, that was some guilt. Yeah.
That actually leads me to a question. Have you ever been injured on a set?
Lots of bruises for sure, but never actually been. I came close on Ginger Snaps. There's like the scene where Ginger gets attacked on the playground, and for some reason they had built like this swing set out of like logs with swings, and I thought it was a real playground. I didn't know it was like a set that wasn't safe, so I just sat on the swing while we were waiting and started swinging, and then the whole thing collapsed on top of me. But fortunately, like, like under a swing, there's like kind of a hollow. There was
Yeah.
kind of a hollow there, and my body went into it, so like the log just like fell across, but didn't actually
So it was
hurt
like
me.
some Final
But I, like, could
Destination
have been
stuff.
killed. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is death is chasing you.
Yes. Death is chasing me. Potentially, yes. It feels like that sometimes.
Anybody else have a
Hey,
question?
Larry, a crew member Q wanted me to ask you a question for him, Emily. He wanted to know, hey Emily, I was wondering how it was playing Becky in Supernatural.
Oh, it was so much fun. I got to play like super fan. Like playing a horny nerd girl is my favorite. Like I went from playing the repressed Becky or repressed Brigitte to playing like the completely like no holds barred, no shame character of Becky, which was like, oh, it's just so much fun. Jared and Jensen, the stars of Supernatural, were very nice. I was a little bit worried that because I was playing a fan, like I was like, ooh, this is really going to show like their relationship to their fans, like the way that they treat me, and like they might not be very nice to me, but they were just amazing. Like they brought me in, and they loved their fans, and they loved that I was representing the fans on the show, and they showed me like the whole studio's decorated with stuff that fans had made. Like fan art is all over the walls. There was like a quilt that someone had made, and every square was a different episode, and like they were so proud of all that stuff, and it was just, yeah, it was a really fantastic experience.
Is there a role that you wish that you could play?
A role I wish I could play. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I would love to do. I'm a big reader. I love literature. I would probably do some like Jane Austen-y, like period piece. Although like the director of Ginger Snaps would always remind me, this is the period piece. I was like, oh God, not that kind of period. Yeah.
That was well done. Very well done.
Probably like to do something. Yeah. I don't know, something sincere and like where I would get to be pretty.
I just want to see you play something really evil. I don't know. Am I alone in that? Does anybody else want to see her play like a villain in something?
Oh, well, I'm an elementary school teacher now, so I do play that role for a lot of 12-year-olds. I can be pretty scary, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Unless anybody has any other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay, cool. then you guys get to hear me say something embarrassing. So, when I was a young man,
Yes.
I loved the miniseries It. I used to write it. When I was practicing writing, I would take the story from watching the miniseries and write it down in computer form.
Oh.
And I was a fat kid.
Adorable.
So I obviously related to Ben Hanscom.
Yes.
And Beverly Marsh was my childhood crush.
Oh.
So much so that when I got married and I had children, I named my son Ember from the poem.
From the poem. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
And so
That's so
this was kind of like a surprise for me. I wasn't going to be doing this, but it has been an absolute pleasure for me to be able to talk to you for this bit of time.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I just wanted
Likewise.
to say for everybody here, thank you so much. You are a wonderful person, and you've been incredibly kind to everybody that has come to your table. If you guys have not come to her table, by all means, what are you doing? What are you waiting for?
Oh, thank you so
but
much.
thank
Yeah,
you,
everyone's
Emily.
been so kind. And yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, so thank you. If you have any questions, please come to the table and just to chat, just to ask questions. I'd be happy to chat about anything.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much. We are going to let Emily get back and maybe have something to drink or eat. But definitely come visit her at her table. Continue to enjoy Sinister Creature Con and listen with someone you trust or something. All right.